Live from the backstretch at Saratoga, this is the Handicappers Report. The Handicappers Report is brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. The new Capital OTB wagering platform. Bet any place, anytime with the new Capital OTB wagering platform. And CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier wagering site in New York State.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report alongside Seth Merrow. I am Anthony Mormino on the first Saturday of the meet and a pleasant morning.
Although, just as we were about to go on, I'm thinking either it's a little humid or I'm coming down with something. But I think it's a little close. I think today. No, it is. I think it's about where it was the last couple of
nice
mornings.
tie.
Thank you.
Without any doubt, from the Steve Bick box of ties or something, however that works out. That is not a Seth Merrow retail purchase.
I'm guessing it maybe from his visit last year with Bick, and Bick must have made some kind because he does all the time. But David O'Rourke is scheduled to be on this morning. And when I saw him in the paddock yesterday, I said, "Hey, coming over," and he said, "What are you wearing?" He said, "Step it up a little bit tomorrow."
Whoa! The Naira Big Shot sends the zinger right off the bat.
So I said, "Well, maybe I'll do something with the tie." So I thought, orange tie, green jacket. That's for me.
I'll say one thing, Seth. You clearly have arrived. When the guy running the place is taking notes.
Well, all I can think is Bick, when he was sitting in with us last year, Bick must have, or maybe he was reading Bick's tweet.
Well, it stuck in David's mind, and he knew. So you've arrived. He's like, So a couple quick things yesterday as I dropped my pen. Not that it's more of a prop than anything, but I know I banged the drum slowly here. Actually, not slowly. And Craig Milkowski is worried about Wimbledon, as I will be, particularly tomorrow. Still waiting for the teletimer on the last race. And then I just say this because I think we all agree how important it is timing the races. I mean, I don't know that there's anything more important, the accuracy of it as such. But maybe we'll get this. Naira reported 40 minutes ago on Twitter we're going to be on the turf. So we got that going for us. Had a little moisture in the racetrack yesterday. What did we run? One race, good, and then fast the rest of the day.
And it was really similar to the 2 days.
Yes, strikingly similar.
Monday, until that rainstorm hit and blew through, it was a nice day like this. The sun's out. I thought it was a little humid the last couple of days, and yesterday was pretty much the same thing. So really, other than that crazy, heavy downpour
Thursday night,
Thursday
really following
evening,
the races.
Other than that,
so it'll work out. I mean, considering we had probably the driest and nicest May ever, I've had my sprinkler off really for a week, and no one really cares about that. But that just shows the frequency we've had of rain. So we're gonna try the turf today. Of course, we have the Diana, and one thing I want to say is, and I've said this before, is I love when the Diana is run on the Mellon turf course versus the inner turf course. I think many people who follow this game regularly would say you get a fairer run on the Mellon turf course than the inner. We've had some great additions, and I'm just glad that it's on the main. I know everybody. The more of the discussion has been main turf course about Chad Brown having 80% of the field, the 2 to 5 morning line shot. We'll get to that later, but I'm just glad it's on the Mellon. The other thing that struck me as a non-pick 6 player, and you're in the same category, right?
Yeah.
Even with the inflation rate, and it's $1, right?
Yeah.
So based on 1991 stats where it had to be $2, it's much more affordable nowadays. And I was just looking that the $40 winner and the $20 winner didn't really do very much. And I was just wondering if the 3 and 4 horse field size makes it where the group
I think you probably
of bettors,
yeah.
They probably could have handled even bigger bombs in those races. I mean, one of the races it couldn't be because it was, what was it, Ray Handles, the $40 winner was the longest shot on the board. I would just be interested to see the tickets because it only paid $31,000. I mean, so they hit it pretty good.
All around it, $6 favorite, $5.30 horse, $7.50 horse, $5 favorite in there all around. And as you say, field size, I think allowed people to maybe play around in those races a little bit more. You know, it was nothing to sneeze at. You got $31,000,
Yes.
but yeah, I think field size absolutely plays into it on a day-to-day basis.
Those bigger tickets, the syndicates are rooting for the Bruce Levine and the Ray Handles.
Oh, absolutely.
Get the little fish out of the pond.
Yeah.
You know, so it's no, I wasn't surprised it was hit. I thought it'd be a bigger no. I thought it'd be a big number in a few, but then I was just thinking, you know what? I don't know. I wish we had somebody, but I don't know if you're paying like a $400 ticket, you get it, right? I mean, I didn't do the math. I'm not good at that, but I'm like,
that's a good question because I don't play it enough to know how I would have constructed it.
It's
I mean,
funny.
pulling the $42 horse in, and that's what makes things tough. We should mention also
but that was
the $20 horse was Roddy Valente, who I expect to have on this morning as well.
He will not stiff you. I would have to. He loves supporting capital team. And the other thing was, and I think this is very important, the $40 and $20 winner. There were 7-horse fields, so I just think that's not a hurdle for a certain group who plays the pick six. You know, almost as a commodity market. So that was, I thought, interesting. Favorites or short price?
You compare it to the pick 5, which also had both of those. Yeah, and both of those horses were in the pick 5 was $5,400 for 50 cents. So if you move that up to the buck, it was almost $11,000, almost a third of
and the horse
more than a third of the pick 6.
And the horse you wouldn't have had would have been the favorite. So you started with and that definitely indicates to me field size.
Yeah,
that's I mean, a function of it. I talk about the teletimer, penny breakage, and field size. That those three might be the umbrella, the panacea for the game.
Yeah,
you know. So we're gonna be on the turf. You have to say what you think. Good, right? I don't think it could. You think it would stand firm? I think it'd be good. We don't have that yet, but we do have that Naira posted about 45 minutes ago. We're on the turf, which is great, and I think Roddy's Bustin' Stones is the leading stallion.
Oh.
His undefeated grade 1 winner of many moons ago. I thought he was the first one to have 2 winners on the card. He had one each day. Yeah. Maybe Bustin' Stones will sire a winner every single day. The Ortiz brothers are continuing to roll, Javier Castellano. So life is good. I say, you know, except for the off the turf races yesterday in the 3-horse field and the 4-horse field, life is good.
Let me toss out. We had Rich Engen here yesterday. Betting on horse racing for dummies, volume 2, edition 2. And we mentioned it yesterday. He is currently, because it's 9 to 11, having a signing right across the street at the National Museum of Racing. So if you're in the area and you're thinking of coming at the track, it goes until 11. You still have plenty of time to get up here, get a signed copy of the book from Rich, and I guarantee you will enjoy the conversation with him. And I also want to tout, because I got the email alerting it last night, Beat Bic starts again. The NTRA, part of the handicapping contest.
With a stick or?
We'll see. But every Saturday and Sunday through the rest of the Saratoga meet, certainly. But it starts this weekend. Starts today and tomorrow. If you go to the NTRA website, I'm sure there's a Beat Bic link. But he picks a horse in one of the feature races each of those days. And you can either go with his horse or go against it. But if you get the winner, you move on, and they have a NHC qualifier after it's all the winners will kind of square off. So it's fun. I'm going to jump in and take my shot at Beat Bic. But again, as I say, if you go to ntra.com, I'm sure the link is there. I got an email that had an automatic link, but. And we also want to thank our friends at NTRA for sponsorship this season. Appreciate that as well. The guys behind the NHC, which is a lot of fun, talking about that with Rich yesterday. I want to get out there as a player, because it literally is. It's referred to as the, a convention of horse players, and that's exactly what it's like out there with a, room full
January,
of
right?
Handicap. This year, I think it was later. I want to say March even.
Okay.
But it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
I think that's not a pick and pray one, is it?
No.
That would be my fine. I've settled on that after the recent news worthy, which, by the way, and I've said this before, I have one of my closest friends in the world. If I said it, if you hit Yahoo, you could find out who he is. But he is at these last couple Breeders' Cups. He's invited me into the room, which is, I think, one of the biggest ones, right? The Breeders' Cup one, right? And I could tell you, I'm a dummy, but I could look around the room and going, I'm kind of thinking I'm in the card game and I'm the mark. So it's I could see it.
Another one of our sponsors, and we'll have Howard over here. Howard Kravitz and the HHH Racing podcast, I tout. They do a great job. It's a lot of fun to watch. Paul Haller and Pete Visco, his partners. But every once in a while, they'll have Matt Miller on, who's a contest player and has won a couple of big contests. And he, particularly after one of the big contests, he kind of goes back and looks. And it's interesting to hear him say, oh, this guy, the last three, he made a bad bet. This was just the wrong strat. And it's interesting to hear the contest strategy as compared to handicapping and betting.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
The last time I was at Del Mar 2 years ago, guys came up with Saturday with no money. They were done. And my friend says, who's in more like my world, he's like, Anthony, 15, 18,000. I got to take it home. These guys are like, what do I need with 18,000? I'm trying to win.
That's right.
That's similar to that jackpot bet we talk about with you at Gulfstream, where you're clearly by your selections not chasing the jackpot. You're chasing $600, $700, $800.
Rich lives out in Vegas, yes. Rich Eng. And so, I talked to him about contests, which he's kind of a contest player, has been over the years. And I said that the live money contest, because a few years ago, I was in the big contest over here. And I had ballooned up. I think you start with 600, and I knocked it up to about 2,000. And so I was sitting in 8th place with like 3 races to go. But 2,000 for me, I'm not pushing all in with that. I took a couple of decent shots at the end, but it wasn't. But I got knocked down to like 14th place because a couple of guys who were down the list just pushed all in.
And that's another advantage the whales have. I mean, they're just like, they can play it so much differently than you. Speaking of whales in the game, we have, which by the way is a compliment, the DePaula play of the day.
When you think trucks, think DePaula. Then come join the family for value. Just visit, call, or click.
This week's Chevy Silverado is just $549 a month with zero due at inception. Yes, zero down.
So come join the family and think DePaula for all your automotive needs.
Cox, the Brooklyn Cowboy here with the DePaula play of the day from beautiful Saratoga Race Course. We'll be giving you our plays of the day on Fridays and Saturdays throughout the meet. And we'll be basing our success on a 50 to win, 30 to place, 20 to show bet. And last year, we sort of flat bet profit for the entire stand. So let's see if we could go back to back, as they say. Today's play is in race 2, the second half of the early double. And we're going to side with the number 1 win for gold. As our bet is an across-the-board wager, this 5-year-old gelding is an excellent fit in that regards, in such that he's been in the money in his last quintet. The only knock on him, though, is, as we like to say, know him early but have the Pepto handy late. The speed is most definitely there, but the stamina can be a little bit short at times. And that's noticeable, as this one has lost ground in the lane in his last 15 starts. Yikes. On the plus side, though, before you start worrying about the rail draw, you should know that he's been in the money the last 3 times where he's been loading first. And that's something good to know, because sometimes horses don't like breaking from the inside. We only see one other horse with a chance of upsetting the apple cart here. And tossing the fact that Kendrick had 2 winners on Friday, and you have the makings of a very sensible selection at 4 to 1. Although we feel he may be a little bit less than that today. So once again, our DePaula play of the day from race 2 at Saratoga Race Course is the number 1 win for gold. And we'll see you at the track.
When you think trucks, think DePaula.
The all-new 2024 Chevy Trax is here. Bigger, roomier, seats 5, and lots of technology. And just $419 a month, zero down.
So come join the family and think DePaula for all your automotive needs.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, the Handicappers Report. And apparently, Seth did not step up the sartorial splendor enough because we have the first scratch of the season.
David,
try harder next time.
But we'll get Pat McKenna over here, so we'll be good to go.
The Naira seat will be filled.
Yeah, absolutely, no question about it. And again, a little bit later, it is going to be our friend Roddy Valente, who had a nice winner yesterday. David and Gordo, bloodstock agent. We had his wife, Cherie DeVoe, in yesterday talking about the training and winning side of things on the track. But David, a winning bloodstock agent, he has picked out some of the biggest horses in the game over the last few years. So we'll talk that side of the game a little bit as well coming up at 10.
I think Roddy's probably been in the game on the owner's side north of 30 years.
This is funny, and I was going to bring it up to him yesterday. I looked at his winner yesterday, Bustin' Shout, who I believe is 7, and I thought, it was that long ago, Bustin' Stones? And then I looked it up. 2008 won the Carter.
The Carter.
If somebody had asked me,
I
would have said less than 10 years ago, certainly.
Wow.
I was like way off.
Well,
because like I say, when I saw the offspring, really, he's got a 7-year-old. So
well, the first thing I always remember, and I had to go about figuring this out years ago, when a horse is retired, and more often it's stallions versus the broodmare, the first thing is they're under normal circumstances, their first 2-year-olds will be 4 years later. So it's like a big jump from when they retire before you see their horses on the racetrack. And which brings me to the opener today. You don't see this very often. You and I both use the classics, or do you use Formulator, or do you get the comments?
I get the comments.
Okay. My guess is that David Aragona must have something when he made Pirate odds on in the debut, which is a rare spot. So I'll throw it to you. 2-year-olds, open company, maiden special weights, going 5.5 in the opener.
And it is in the closer look, and I'm just looking. David Aragona sometimes does the closer look. This race was Mike Beer. And if you don't know what we're talking about, the closer look is just an extra little set of comments under all or most of the horses in a race. And you can choose when you choose your PPs, you can choose to have them or not. I do, because every once in a while you get a little nugget in there.
I agree with that.
But I have it 1, 4, 6, and 5. I put Pirate on top, and I think what jumps out is it's Todd Pletcher with a firster up at Saratoga. Irod Ortiz is on board. I'm sure that played plenty into the morning line for David Aragona. But Omaha Beach on top was off to a very good start. When I got the numbers just a couple of days ago, it was actually a few days ago.
And this is his first crop, right?
Yeah. So this possibly has been updated, because, again, these are maybe a week old, but 8 first-time starters at that point, 3 wins in a second. So he's off to a good start. But the dam produced some nice horses, too, including National Treasure, the winner of the Preakness this year, who was a debut winner. So there's win early all over the place with the human connections, with the breeding. I'll put Pirate on top. Does have to negotiate from that inside post position. But Special Element in the second spot, paid a $250,000 after a 10-flat workout at Ocala back in April. Sire's okay with first-time starters. 10 first-time starters this year, only 1 winner, but 3 seconds and a third, so they run pretty well early. There was a sibling called 1484 that won the first 2 starts of the career, so I think the Bill Mott runner is live. And Sheriff Joe is maybe a little bit interesting to me from Mike Makers, a little breeding there as well. But I have it 1, 4, 6, and 5.
I have 1, 5, 6. I mean, Wayne Lucas has the 2, who's the only runner who has run that's just Steel. The other 5 are firsters, and you see 4 to 5 on the board, and I'm just thinking like Competitive Edge or something like that, where this horse seems to be ahead of it. And Mike Beer, very sharp young guy in the game. So I'm not gonna push the stone up the hill. I'll just take Pirate for a second. I have the 5 in here for George Weaver. Arteta, I'm taking a guess for the first-time starter, Johnny V, and then Sheriff Joe, an offspring of Curlin, debuting. And we left out the Arrogate offspring, the 3, and like you said, with Special Moment, Bill Mott had the Sugar High the other day, who was quite impressive. What do you think of Dreamlike yesterday? Just workmanlike, and you get the maiden going 9 furlongs, and
lived up to
was
the price.
clearly the best.
A horse, as you say, clearly the best. A horse that already already should have had a W on the resume, you would think, and just circumstances worked out and then lived up to it a short.
I agree.
Well, not surprising.
We'll
to
see.
anybody.
We'll see what's next. I wouldn't think. I don't think it'll be around here. He can't go off that to the Travers, right?
Curlin, maybe.
Maybe the curling. That's that's that non-sweepstakes winning prep race. Maybe.
Saratoga's second race starter allowance going 3/4 of a mile.
315. My selection's in here, and Tommy Gunn is my top pick for Mike Maker, a claim from Tom Amos. Couple races back has already secured a victory. That was off of the claim, second time versus winners. Did try the state bred 1X, and I've said that that's a very interesting area, the allowance New York bred horses versus the open company starter allowance. My second pick is Kevin Cox's play of the day. Win for gold, inside speed. We saw, not that it matters, but I think the number one post position won like 3 races in a row yesterday. And my only thought would be, you have some early speed, you get command, and a good position is beneficial. And then Talking Pharaoh for Linda Rice off of a big winning effort versus maiden claimers taking on winners. 315.
I'm 5-1-4-2. I put Talking Pharaoh on top. I'm wondering if this is going to turn out to be a very clever claim for Linda Rice and company. She has popped down to Kentucky really the past couple of years. Last year, maybe it wasn't as productive. Seems to be productive this year. Picked this one up at Keeneland for $50,000. Why is it notable? Started the career in the barn of Wesley Ward after having been a $250,000 purchase at Keeneland September a couple of years ago. So they waited until this one shows up for the tag and they jump in. That race was the seasonal debut and ran third. And as I say, it may turn out to be a clever claim. It was certainly a brave claim because a horse they paid that much money for, and then they come back off a layoff. And I'm not sure what the rules are down at Keeneland, but certainly they could have picked their spot somewhere and gone for a waiver off of a layoff like that. But they didn't. They dangled the horse out there. This team picked it up and came back and broke the maiden at Belmont for a 40 tag. So now they step into starter allowance. But the way this horse won last time, as I say, they might have made a very clever move. 10 Strike Racing, Marshall Graham and Company, Michelle Giangiulio with Win for Gold. I agree. There's some speed from the rail and looks very intriguing. And East Coast Girl also with some speed. And that's part of what makes this one intriguing. Will those two kind of hook up a little bit because I think they both have some legitimate speed. And then it just becomes, do they hook up enough to knock each other out a little bit? It seems like getting into the stretch over the past couple of days, there have been some of those situations where you just know you have a horse who's kind of making up ground, and I'm not gonna get there if a horse comes into the stretch with a nice
I agree with
lead.
that feeling.
Yeah.
It's certainly subjective, but in the opener yesterday, I know Joe Sharp didn't have good numbers, but I felt very positive that Concerti was not going to get run down.
Yeah.
I'm like, until I begin to see it.
I will also
like
say,
position.
I don't know if you picked up, it's just my perception. Over the last couple of years at Saratoga, I have realized, particularly you look up at a monitor and you're standing here, there's a point in the stretch where if you're here, you feel like I'm not going to get there. But if you look up at the monitor, you think, I still have a chance. So I think TV is deceptive. At about the mid-stretch point, to me, it seems like you look up at the TV and you think, I'm fairly close, but you look down live and you're like, I'm not going to get there.
Okay. I had never thought of it that way. You're a pessimist. It doesn't pay off. Don't be a pessimist.
But it also may be the fact that I am standing here live looking at on the TV. I don't think you can make the distinction because you just think you didn't get there. So that may play into it. If you're standing there live, you can make the comparison. So that might play into it a little bit.
One of the other things with these mile races on the dirt, they have the great shot. It's the head on. And I will say this: if you want to look at the head-on of the pan shot, will be the head-on of Life, Love, and Laughter, who was the second choice yesterday. That is as great a start from number one hole as you will ever see. It was amazing how fortuitous it worked out. Now it was a short field, the race field of 4, but boy, you want to talk about? I've said this many times before. Haven't said it this year. The First 100 yards to me is 10 times more important than the last 100 yards of the race. And you cannot watch enough head-ons and make notes of that. Now, as I said about an hour ago, Naira reported they're on the turf. So let's get to the third race, Seth. We have open company, 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares, maiden special weights on the inner turf course at 1 mile and 16.
This is my dark horse play of the day,
Whoa.
so I'll save a little of this until I get into until we head to the commercial in a moment. But I have it 6, 5, 7, and 8. I'm going to put Taciturn on top. I'm just hoping with Chad Brown, Klarovich, 5-1.
What are you hoping to get? Like you're
I'm
a professional.
hoping for the 5, but I don't know.
No, that's not. You're hoping for 12. But I mean,
it's again, David Aragona does such a great job, and he had to see Chad and Irod, and these races up here are just so competitive and whatnot. You have horses with experience that ran okay, the kind of experience you like, where the first start was pretty good, just not spectacular. So you can go in that direction, but it's going to be interesting. But again, I'll hit on that a little more in a moment. Underneath number 5, Vanished, goes out for Todd Pletcher, Spikestown daughter, who looked pretty good in the first 2 starts. And again, experience counts. Both of those were down in Kentucky with those Kentucky-bred juiced-up purses. They took a shot down at Churchill and Ellis, turf and dirt, and both of them were pretty good efforts. So Vanished certainly in the mix and deservedly so, and heavenly appointed for Graham Motion, another one that put in a start so far. Pretty good start. Again, experience counts. So for me, 6, 5, 7, and 8.
I like this race very much. I don't know how the turf will be labeled. That's fine. I took a bomber in this race. You have the 7 here, heavily appointed. And I said this before, David is great at his job. 8-1 I find extraordinarily attractive for the Graham Motion horse. And I've looked at this and I'm like, I don't know where the good folks are going to go, Seth, except for Taciturn.
You don't think Vanished is going to legitimately be the favorite?
Well, maybe, but how can heavily appointed, you talk about the buyers, has a 67.
8 is generous there, probably, yeah. Very
intriguing race, which, by the way, I like. I mean, that's what I love, obviously. I'm 295, and my top pick is 15-1 on the morning line, making the 3rd career start, hasn't run since March. I'll just put, I mean, we're inside, which I like. I get Tyler Gaffleon, who has retained the mount on 2 efforts that you might be like, Brendan, I'll go elsewhere. But it's an offspring of Kingman. We talked about him last year. We scored, this is Kingman, a mile 16. We're on the inner. I wanted to take a flyer here because if, I get a Chad Brown firster who is 5-1 or more, I'm like, I guess this is the one I want to take on, I guess. For second, I have the 9, Holagata going out for the first start of the year for Chad Brown. They get Lasix as a 3-year-old now, the offspring of Kitten's Joy. And for third, I have Vanished, the favorite in here for Todd Pletcher, who was sharp on debut on the turf as the beaten favorite. Gets back here today. But the 6, the 7 interest me greatly. 295 in the 3rd.
I mean, 8 from Bill Mott.
It's tremendous.
Playable.
No Deli.
Kelly Breen's
How about
10.
the Jack Sisterson from the rail, right?
Yeah.
Isola.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a Frank fan of being bred in Ireland. I doubt they know who he is.
By Rick Pitino.
I mean, what a great betting race.
Yeah, and again, this is my dark horse play of the day, so I'll hit on that now. Brought to you by the folks down at the Dark Horse Mercantile downtown on by and enjoying browsing through the store. If you're going downtown for a little dinner or whatnot, stop by. Tell them you saw them here on the show, but also go down the street to their sister store, Impressions of Saratoga. Both are just kind of fun to browse through. I guarantee you will have a little fun and walk away probably with a bag or two from the Dark Horse Mercantile and Impressions of Saratoga. Dark Horse play of the day is number 6, Taciturn. And believe me, I looked because the Dark Horse, I'm looking for a little bit of value. And so I looked and I thought just what you were mentioning. Am I going to get that 5-1? I don't know. But tomorrow I'm kicking myself if I do get the 5-1 and I haven't made it to, if David Aragona nails it and I'm sitting on the sidelines with the $12 Chad Klarovich horse. But this one steps out. You have Tap It on top, but the Dam has produced some nice ones. You might remember Abraham from a few years ago. That one, second in debut, won the second start. Another sibling, Oak Hill, second in debut, won the second start. Desire Street won the second start of the career. So there's win early with the breeding. There is win early with the connections, Chad Brown and Klarovich. And again, we'll keep our fingers crossed on the price there. In the third race, dark horse play today, third race, number 6, Taciturn.
Well, good luck there. We'll take our first break. When we come back, a grade 1 at about 2:46 in the afternoon.
For 4 generations and looking forward to a 5th, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued their 99-year tradition of delighting their faithful following with the finest authentic Italian recipes made with the freshest ingredients. Some things have changed in the last 99 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Seth, Merrow, and Anthony Mormino. And I was remiss not to have mentioned promos coming up at the Clubhouse Racebook this weekend, because if you can't make it up here to the track, stop by the Racebook, and this afternoon the Play the Board contest. Tomorrow it's a double promo match bet and exacta board. Today at the website, you swing by, you can enter still for the Play of the Day team. There's an entry form there. 50 folks will participate. $100 bet made on the Play of the Day that you saw earlier. That happens every day. $100 wager on the Play of the Day. The team will split up the proceeds at the end of the season. So again, you can still enter that for another day or two. And I'll have a show pool every Sunday. Entry form is open for that as well. So keep that in mind coming up here at Capital OTB. All right, let's jump back in. The aforementioned grade 1, the Diana, $500,000 up for grabs, 9 furlongs on the grass.
I'm 254. I mean, in Italian, we're going to have the, they don't post that the rails are up, but I'm presuming the rails are staying up. I'm glad it's on the Mellon Turf Course. She's 2-5. She's been on a tremendous roll starting with this race last year. The other Chad Brown for me, White Beam, third start in the United States, third start of the year. I'm expecting a good effort. But, in Italian, just not only has the best buyer speed figures for that value, gets to control the race.
Yeah,
that's a very potent combination. And then I have Fluffy Socks to complete the Chad Brown trifecta. I wish I had, more interesting things to say, horizontal players, exacta players here. You take a flyer on a one punch exacta, I guess, somewhere if you find the price, but it's a unique situation for one of the most prestigious races in the world. And I think nowadays the Diana is kind of ahead of the Beverly D with all that tumult as the premier filly and mare turf race in the country before we get to the Breeders' Cup.
I'm right with you. I mean, it's just hard to get past in Italian. 2, 4, and 3 for me. She's just been phenomenal, and 2 for 2 this year has looked very good. Solid numbers, has clear edge on this one. I went with Fluffy Socks in the second spot, and market segmentation for the Chad Fecta in here. But again, not, as you say, not a whole lot to say. Just master of the obvious. 2, 4, and 3.
What intrigues me is down the road, and on a complete difference of like Hall of Fame voting, like does Rushing Fall make it? Does what if an Italian continues rolling? Because we've talked about how we think Tepin going over to Europe changed the arc of her career, and I think at one point Tepin would have been like 10 for 10, except for about a foot and a half. But I really think that going to Europe, I mean, Manila, who's the greatest turf horse I've ever seen, took till his last voting to get in. So what would a filly have to do? Well, we'll find out. On to the 5th race. State Bred's entry-level allowance going 6.
8, 5, 2, and the 1 entry, Mariachi on top for me, the John Kimmel trainee. Looked pretty good in the early part of the career. Last year as a 2-year-old, couple of starts, good little second to get some experience, and then a nice win, and then they laid off until June. I always like those kind to maybe come back and prove. That wasn't the case. The buyer went backwards and ran 3rd, but it was a close-up 3rd. And I'm going to look for this one to move forward off of that effort. The cutback may help as well. Mariachi on top. 2nd spot, Agility. Been kind of stuck at this condition for a long time, but in the hunt more often than not. So if you're playing around in this race, this is a horse that has been in the money 9 times in 14 starts. So you have to have this one in the mix somehow. And then Always Charming in the 3rd spot. Irod Ortiz on board off 2 wins to start the season, and then a close-up 2nd place finish last time in front of Mariachi. So we'll see how those two play out. But Always Charming, again, off of those 3 starts, has to be in the conversation as well. 8, 5, 2, and the 1 entry.
I see it almost the same way. This is one of the rare races where I think the 3 low morning line, I think that they have the race surrounded. I just went for Agility, who obviously, has been in this condition for a while, whereas Mariachi, the key for me, Seth, was it's that thing that I talk about. He came back off the bench with a very nice effort, and I'm just expecting, a slight regression before they go on, and I thought I'd get a better price on Agility, so 5, 8, 2 for me.
6th race this afternoon. We are once again looking at a turf event. State Bred allowance non-winners and 1 runners going a mile on the grass.
Definitely don't have the same horses here. I would almost fall over if we have the same horses. Roll them, Dino. 3, 11, and 10 for me. I guess they don't want. You have the 3. Good. No 11, 10, but
Jim Pond with a lightly raced and kind of
agree.
moving forward.
Who we haven't seen yet early.
I was about to. You were talking. I was about to make a comment.
You saw
Came by. He's got that cart with the 3 rows.
Yeah, he's got the Bentley.
It was
He's
full.
got the Bentley.
They had a
the
dog.
He got the dog. Yeah, Teenage Jim. I'm 3, 11, 10. Apparently the 3 will be nowhere close to 8 to 1 on this price in here. Draws well. The Caraconti, 1 on debut for Jimmy Bond, raced well. Wins on debut at 40 to 1, runs very sharply against winners at nearly 20 to 1. Jamie Torres in the saddle. I'm inside. I like him very much. For 2nd, I'm on the 11 Waterville for Christophe Clement. Makes the 3rd start of the year. Came back nicely, little less nice. 2nd start, we move forward, and then Silver Skillet, also for Christophe Clement, who improved in the 2nd start of the year, but 3, 11, 10.
And using that, you mentioned Caraconti. I will reiterate to people.
Tremendous.
First time out in particular. But again, if those horses don't win first time out, check them, particularly if you get a situation. Goes first time out at 41 to 1.
You want to hear an interesting tidbit? I think Caraconti, Breeders' Cup winner, might have the worst finishing position in their prep race and win a Breeders' Cup. I think that's the horse I'm thinking of, like 11th or something in his prep, and then, down the road right in front of me, breaking my heart when it counted a lot.
I have it 6, 2, 3, and 9. I'm going to put Sal's Dream Girl on top. Danny Gargan runner. Just as consistently tossing some numbers that I think match up with most in here, have a little bit of an edge on many in here. So I thought this one, again, on the fairly consistent numbers, Luis Saez on board. I'll tilt in that direction, 6 to 1 on the morning line. Salib in the 2nd slot. 3rd start back this season. It's Irod Ortiz. It's Mike Maker. Won the seasonal debut and then kind of went backwards a little bit last time. Finishing position, it was still a decent little race, but the number also went backwards. I'd expect a rebound today, and I think this one's live. And then Kazuki, the Jim Bond runner, again, lightly raced, numbers moving in the right direction, could be primed for a good effort. 6th race, 6, 2, 3, and 9.
On to the 7th, as reported on the turf. Open company, Phillies and Merrows, in for 62 or 2X, dashing 5.5.
4, 1, 5, and 3. Breeze Easy on top. Christophe Clement runner, another one of those making the third start back, which is oftentimes a very good effort. And this one did improve a little bit, start 1 to start 2. The numbers stayed the same, but the finishing position improved nicely. So again, in the third start back, I'll tilt there to break through with a seasonal win. Playlist in the second spot for Wesley Ward. Inside post position. So Wesley Ward horses typically, these turf sprinters break decently. So should get some good position from the get-go. Johnny Velasquez on board. Comes in with a couple of wins most recently. In the third spot, Lady Milagro. Lots of early speed. I would guess that'll be the scenario. These are the kind of horses I love with apprentice jockeys because they don't have to do a whole lot of things. The instructions are just go as far as you can, as fast as you can. Now, this jockey is a 5-pound apprentice and has some decent experience. I like these situations even more if you have the 10-pound or the 7-pound because, as I say, they can just hit the gas pedal and go. But it still holds for Lady Milagro in the 7th, 4, 1, 5, and 3.
Well, I got the fact he ran 11th in his prep race for the Breeders' Cup, and I will stand that I think that's the worst. I am 7-6-4 in here. Tracy Ann's, quick note, the 8 and 9 are MTOs here. Joe Orsino trained multiple champions in this century in the same year. I'm taking out the hand-timed race at Gulfstream Park. The Tampa sprints were very effective. We're on the outside. We have hopefully a very clean trip. It's not an easy way to win the turf sprints at Saratoga, but with Jose Ortiz and 10-1 on the morning line, as I say, you get to ask more questions. Glitter up. Seth doesn't even have on the board for Tim Hills. Dylan Davis won yesterday. I think I saw Robbie Davis taking a horse out to Clare Court to work this morning. And then Breeze Easy, the favorite here, 7-6-4.
Hard to miss Davis. The Davises are all over the place.
Yeah, I was. Yes.
Are we supposed to take a break? Did we miss one?
No. 3, 6, 8. Yeah, we missed one.
Yeah.
Good job.
So we'll head to one more break. Actually, we have a couple more, but we'll be back and kick back into a Saturday afternoon. Stay tuned.
It only takes one upset to make history, and now you can be part of Saratoga's long tradition at the Dark Horse Mercantile. The Dark Horse Mercantile offers a carefully curated selection of clothing, gifts, and home decor from one-of-a-kind vintage racing memorabilia to select brands like Barber and Under Armour, as well as exclusive Dark Horse branded merchandise. So celebrate the Dark Horse in all of us at the Dark Horse Mercantile, downtown Saratoga, where the smart bet is always the Dark Horse.
A day at the track isn't complete without a night at the Horseshoe. Great food, hot music, and cold drinks. So why go downtown when all the action's just across from the track? The Horseshoe Inn at the corner of Nelson and Gridley.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes.
In front, but here comes High Chaparral. High Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Falbrough. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart very dominant. It's going to be a 3-horse photo finish to the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
Welcome back. Seth and Anthony, Clare Court set. Looking at Saturday afternoon, I was just looking at my phone because I will let you look. I got a text from Marianne Barker at Impressions of Saratoga. She must have heard us talking about ties. She said, bring you down as well. Pretty good looking selection they have downtown.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd wear every single one of those. That's an outstanding selection.
I may have to swing by to upgrade the tie selection this year. But again, highly touted to swing down yourself.
So, all right, listen, just because they're piling on and everything, stay the course. Be who you are.
You be you.
People making fun of your car and everything. You be you. Don't listen to these mutts.
Thank you.
Gotten this far pretty successfully in life.
8th race this afternoon at Saratoga. State-bred maiden specials, 7 furlongs. Top of the page, I think this is an evenly matched bunch.
Well, here's what I had at the top of the page. The average, and I quote this once every 3 months. The average winning buyer par for this race is 74. who the heck in this group's going to get like
70.
77, 76? I mean, so it equates to what you said. Go crazy. And we both landed on Foxy Cara in a roundabout way. You took a firster, but I'll get to Foxy Cara making the 5th career start for Mitch Friedman. 3 consecutive hit the board efforts. It's, the buyer figures might seem light, but I don't think so in the context of the race. And Javier Castellanos continues to ride for Mitch. I'm on Foxy Cara here. For second, the firster I went for was Mark Henning with the 15-1 shot from the rail. Embraceable Gal. You see Mark is 1 for 31, but a healthy ROI of $1.53 tells you that he got the bomber home late in the Belmont meet. And then Mim from the far outside for Mark Cassie's second start of the year. 8-1-11. I agree with you, wide open.
Yeah, and because of that, I went with the fresh face, quote unquote. I think this is the kind of race where you can take that shot. 9, 8, 11, and 7. And Nay Jude, I kind of like that. Nay Jude. But there's a sibling called November Rain that was second in debut, then won the next 2 starts. One of those was a stake. So I thought, there's a little bit of win early breeding here. Workouts seem okay. Been working for Kelly Breen over at Monmouth, but they come to New York, obviously, for the New York bred purse here. So I'll go with that one. Irod Ortiz attracted to ride. Foxy Cara in the second spot. Once I got past the first one, as I say, it was evenly matched. I kind of could have thrown darts, but this one has been kind of consistently in the mix. And Mim from the outside, Mark Cassie runner, has that series of improving numbers that I thought was worth kind of exploring to see if we could move forward again. In the 8th, 9, 8, 11, and 7.
9th race on the card. That's Saratoga going a mile on the turf. Listed at the rails being up at 9 feet. We have them at 12 feet on the main. The Kelso. Now, here's an interesting thing. I think there's very few clear statements in this game, but I think this is one. The greatest miler this country has ever produced lost to Kelso at a mile on the turf twice. Turf miler, I should say. Twice he lost this race.
Twice lost. I don't know. Go for it.
Lure.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
When he was blossoming into this, when Shug took the summer off in 92 and came back on the turf, Roman Envoy beat him. Then he won it, prepping for the 93 Breeders' Cup. This used to be an Columbus Day weekend race. And then carrying about 14 pounds more than I think a horse named Majinski's Secret, he lost in 2 out of 3 years.
Type of thing anymore.
And he was, the greatest miler we've ever produced on the turf, I think.
Yeah.
And he lost this race twice. Now it's at Saratoga. Who do you have? Let's see.
8, 5, 2, and 6. Going to root for our friend Lee Einseidler with Casa Creed. Now, is Casa Creed still Casa Creed at 7 years old? And off the first couple of starts this year, you may question that. But, boy, he just
I think
missed.
the last race confirms he is.
Yeah, I thought it was good, too.
And
the Saudi Arabia race, I thought was big. He just missed there. In the last race, there was probably
a monster.
16th pole, I thought he's going by, and then just flattened out slightly. But Caravel, you're right, is turning out to be kind of a monster. So I'm going to look for Casa Creed, who has won up here in the past also. I'll put that one on top. Big Everest for Dean Reeves, Christophe Clement and Company, with a lot of early speed and a 2-for-2 record this year, I think is very dangerous at a 5-1 morning line. And Annapolis is the morning line favorite. This is another race where I'm going to be interested to see how the odds shake out. I'm not totally sure I'm buying into Annapolis as the favorite. Now, this is a horse with 8 exacta finishes, 6 wins in 9 starts. Super talented for Todd Pletcher. Irod Ortiz on board, and that may be enough to move the horse to favoritism. But I'm really, really curious. I have it 8, 5, 2, and 6.
And the other thought is this a jumping off spot for a couple horses?
Yeah.
To grade 1 action, etc. I am 7-8. Anaconda gets my top pick. I had to send this pick in before Joe Sharp won the opener yesterday. But coming out of the poker, I thought a good effort when Emmanuel just got me through a lifetime goal. I think this race is on balance, very balanced. I think this is a tremendous horse race, and I want a price with Tyler Gaffleone. We're going to come off the pace here. I think we have a big chance here to be in it. Annapolis, to me, a very good effort to start the season. The opening verse, never been out of the exacta at the spot. And then Casa Creed, who I think is sharp. I don't know if a mile right now, I wish Lee would text me or something, a mile right now, very intriguing after that big effort coming back from Saudi Arabia. I think this is a big ask, but I expect to move forward. 7-8.
All right, we'll head to one more break before we come back and wrap it up on this Saturday morning live from Saratoga. Thanks for tuning in. Be back in a couple.
For 4 generations and looking forward to a 5th, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued their 99-year tradition of delighting their faithful following with the finest authentic Italian recipes made with the freshest ingredients. Some things have changed in the last 99 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
The only thing better than watching the races is watching your own racehorse. With nearly 20 years experience in the racing industry, Bonaventure Stables' share-based ownership program enables everyday fans to become part owner of a thoroughbred for far less than you might think, with all the ownership perks at Saratoga, Belmont, Aqueduct, and other great tracks. Experience the thrill and lifestyle of owning your own thoroughbred racehorse. Learn more at bonaventurestables.com.
Welcome back. Dan Collins there from Bonaventure with a sponsorship as usual with us. I was talking with Dan a little bit last night because I went down to the night the New York Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association, a little cocktail party downtown. And yeah, there was a nice little crowd there. And Dan was there talking to him. That he expects to have one of their first runner coming up within really the next few days. Nice. So always fun to root for them. 10th at Saratoga today, the Grade 3 Sanford, dear to my heart because Sanford, of course, early last century kind of racing dynasty based in my home burg, Amsterdam. But the Sanford Grade 3 event, $175,000, 6 furlongs the trip.
They make their money in carpets?
Yes. There was a Sanford mill.
Yeah. 796 for me.
Everybody made their money in carpets in Amsterdam.
Yeah, that's it was mill, right?
There was
Wasn't it? I had like one of the highest millionaire per capitas.
Yes.
About 125 years ago. It was incredible how well.
And it was the capital of the world capital of 9 different things or 7 different things. Mother of pearl buttons, buggy whips. It was a manufacturing juggernaut.
So 796. Yeah, the other day I got my head handed to me taking a synthetic runner from Gulfstream Park in the Schuylerville. Now I'm taking one from Woodbine off of the W. Triple Tray, my top pick in here with Luis Saez in the saddle for second gold sweep. Steve Asmussen runner who's going to get a lot of attention at 3 to 5 on the morning line off of his Tremont explosion. And then for third, Rammon Speed.
Is it Tremont or Tremont? I've heard it both ways, and I can never. And I've heard it both ways from sources that I kind of trust. And
I think when I was young, I remember it as Tremont, but of late, like the last 5 years, everyone's been calling it the Tremont.
No, exactly. So now I want to know. But I have it 6-9, 7-1. Kevin Rice invades again, and I always find his horses intriguing when they come to Saratoga. Now, his numbers, if you look over the last couple of years, didn't you in a bankroll use a Kevin Rice? But it was like 5 years ago.
I'm telling you, I've said this before, and Brian Nadeau will back me up on this. I had a full weekend, and he was coming in from Presque Isle, and he was going to run in a turf race. And I said to Brian, it's early in my bankroll. I can't take the shot I want. If that had been Sunday, it would have been one of the biggest killings for the bankrolls ever. But yes. Yep, second time starter off of a sprint synthetic to, I think, a route. Be a star. And after that went like 1 for something in the career. I think won the Oceanside at Del Mar. But I hear you.
But as I say, that was a while ago. Recently, his invasions of Saratoga maybe haven't been as productive, so I was a little bit leery there. But there was a sibling to this one called Driven to Compete that debuted up here at Saratoga, wound up having a decent little career, and in the debut effort was third in a maiden race here at Saratoga behind Always Dreaming, ran second in that race. So, again, there's some performances at Saratoga from siblings, this one stepping out of the synthetic. But I couldn't get past the horse because of the workouts. Now, we haven't had a workout since that last race, but that last race was good enough and fairly recent. So I'm going to go with Ramming Speed. Gold Sweep in the second spot, logical player off of the win in the stake last time for Steve Asmussen. And then I also think the Barbara Minshaw horse coming down from Canada is intriguing as well. 6-9, 7-1.
Is he the person closer to us? The race before Annapolis got me home. Lisa's Vision. That's Lisa's husband.
There you go.
How have you been? Long-time friend of the show. Long time. 11th finale. We just maiden special weights, open company, 5.5 on the turf.
2, 4, 1, and 12 for me. I'm going to put Beer Run on top. Wesley Ward trainee. It's a turf sprint. Has had a couple of turf sprints, big improvement, start 1 to start 2. I think the horse is very logical in here as well. Flat top box off a couple of starts also. This one not only had big improvement, start 1 to start 2, but it was a move from dirt to grass, so seemed to appreciate the surface switch. And then Monet Never in the third slot. 3 starts so far. Gulfstream, a couple of them, and then Keeneland last time. I thought all 3 of them were okay. The Keeneland start, maybe not so much. But again, you would think Keeneland probably a little saltier a group. I think is going to fit nicely in here. I have it 2, 4, 1, and 12.
I just have the top 2 picks reversed because of the price. And I do think I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage because John Velasquez might be in his 50s and I'm shortly to be in my 60s, but he's a sharp guy. And I think he's going to see Beer Run, a little giddy up from the gate, and I think he's going to have a tactical advantage over me. But 4-2-11 in the finale on the first of 8 Saturdays? What a tremendous day. And the Diana will be could be historical. I mean, she's just on a roll, and we'll see where it takes her. But I think there are plenty of other tremendous betting races.
But that race is one of those that we'll see up here at Saratoga where you're just happy to see a kind of a superstar. It's maybe not a great betting race, and we'll have a few of those during the meet, certainly. But you get to see a really nice performance.
Well, I beat Lady Eli in the Boston Spa a couple of years ago on a field of 5. That does it.
That's it.
You stay, I go. We know, obviously, Roddy Vlaney, who had you nervous for a moment, but he's all set.
I was pretty sure. But no matter who it is.
Who else you have?
David and Gordo, again, bloodstock agent, who has been involved with horses like Flightline and Zenyatta.
Pretty good.
And then a little bit later on as well, again, it'll be Pat McKenna in from the New York Racing Association.
All right. He stays, I go, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your Saturday of racing.
You've been watching the Handicappers Report. The Handicappers Report has been brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. The new Capital OTB wagering platform. Bet any place, anytime with the new Capital OTB wagering platform. And CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier wagering site in New York State.